today. What kind of blessing are you waiting on?
Honestly, anything.
The handwritten sign, held by a man standing on the side of Highway 316 in Gwinnett County, Georgia, caught Sergeant Todd Heller's attention. It was January 17th, 2024, 11 a.m. The temperature was 28 degrees, and the forecast predicted it would drop to 16 degrees at night. Dangerously cold, potentially deadly for someone living on the streets. Sergeant Heller had been a police officer for over a decade. He'd seen countless homeless individuals. He'd responded to welfare checks, disturbances, calls about people sleeping in parks or under bridges. Routine, standard, part of the job. But something about this man was different. Something about that sign, waiting on a blessing, stopped Heller from just driving past. He pulled over, rolled down his window, and asked a simple question: "What kind of blessing are you waiting on?" The man's answer was heartbreaking in its simplicity. Anything. What Sergeant Heller did next wasn't in any police manual. It wasn't part of his job description. It wasn't required by policy or procedure. But it was captured entirely on his Bodycam, and 2 months later, when the Gwinnett County Police Department discovered the footage during a routine audit, they released it to the public. The video would be viewed millions of times. It would make Sergeant Heller a viral sensation. It would restore faith in law enforcement for thousands of people who'd lost it. It would prove that sometimes the most powerful thing a police officer can do has nothing to do with arrests or enforcement. Sometimes it's just about seeing another human being who needs help and deciding to be the answer to their prayer. Before we dive deeper into this absolutely shocking story, I need you to do something. Drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from. Your country, your state, wherever you are. And if you believe in holding authority figures accountable when they abuse their power, hit that subscribe button. Sergeant Todd Heller, 39 years old, had been with the Gwinnett County Police Department for over 10 years. January 17th, 2024, was a routine patrol shift. Cold, clear, nothing unusual. Just another day of protecting and serving the community. Around 11 a.m., Heller was driving on Highway 316 when he saw a man standing at the off-ramp. Black male, late 20s or early 30s, wearing layers of clothing that looked worn and insufficient for the bitter cold. He was holding a cardboard sign. Heller had seen thousands of signs like this over his career. Homeless. Anything helps. God bless. Veteran. Please help. They were so common that many officers drove past without a second glance. But this sign said something different. Waiting on a blessing. Anything helps. Something about those words made Heller pause. Not looking for a blessing. Not asking for a blessing. Waiting. Like the man had faith the help would come. He just didn't know when or how. Heller made a split-second decision. He activated his Bodycam, standard procedure whenever interacting with the public, and pulled over. He rolled down his window and called out to the man, "Hey, what kind of blessing are you waiting on?" The man walked over cautiously. Most people were wary when police approached, but when he got close enough to see Heller's expression, he relaxed slightly. Anything, the man said simply, anything would help. But what Heller offered him would be far more than anything. It would be everything. Heller looked at the man, really looked at him. His clothes were thin, inadequate for temperatures dropping into the teens. His hands were red from the cold. His eyes held exhaustion but also dignity. He wasn't aggressive. It wasn't demanding. Just waiting. "You want to go get a blanket and some food?" Heller asked. "It's on me. My treat." The man's eyes widened in disbelief. You're serious?" "Yeah, I'm serious. There's a Walmart right across the interstate. Hop in." The Bodycam footage shows the man hesitating, processing whether this was real. A police officer wasn't arresting him or telling him to move along. A police officer was offering to take him shopping. "Really?" the man asked again. "Really?" Heller confirmed, opening the patrol car's passenger door. "Come on. It's cold out here." The man climbed into the patrol car, not in the back like suspects do, but in the front passenger seat, like a regular person being given a ride. Heller pulled out his phone and opened the weather app. "Look at this," Heller said, showing the man the forecast. "Tonight's going to be 16, maybe 17 degrees. That's dangerous. You got a place to stay?" "No, sir. I've been sleeping outside." Heller nodded, his expression serious. "Okay, then we're going to make sure you have what you need to stay warm tonight, because nobody should freeze to death out here." The Bodycam captured the drive to Walmart. The two men made small talk. The homeless man explained he'd fallen on hard times, lost his job, lost his apartment, ended up on the streets. He'd been trying to get back on his feet, but it was hard, especially in winter. Heller listened without judgment, without lecturing, without treating the man like a criminal or a problem. Just listened. When they arrived at Walmart, neither man knew that what happened next would be watched by millions. The Bodycam footage shows Sergeant Heller and the homeless man walking through Walmart together. Not a cop and suspect, not an authority figure and vagrant, just two people shopping. "What do you need most?" Heller asked as they entered the store. "Honestly, something warm to sleep in, and maybe some socks. My feet get so cold at night." Heller headed straight for the camping section. He grabbed a thick, insulated sleeping bag, the kind rated for cold weather, designed to keep someone warm even in freezing temperatures. "This'll work," Heller said, checking the temperature rating. "This is good down to 0 degrees. He added it to the cart. The homeless man looked at the price tag, and his eyes went wide. "Sir, that's almost $50. You don't have to." "I got it," Heller said simply. "What else?" They moved through the store. Heller grabbed hand warmers, small packets that generate heat when activated. He grabbed toe warmers, multiple pairs of thermal socks, gloves, a warm hat, everything the man would need to survive the freezing nights ahead. The homeless man kept protesting. "This is too much. You don't have to spend all this money on me. You said you were waiting on a blessing, right?" Heller reminded him. "Well, maybe this is it. Maybe God sent me to help you today." The man's eyes filled with tears. They went through the checkout line. The total came to over $150. Heller pulled out his personal credit card, not a department card, not a charity fund, his own money, and paid for everything. The cashier, watching this interaction, smiled. "That's really kind of you, officer. Just doing what's right," Heller said. But the most powerful moment came as they walked back to the patrol car, and Heller said something that would become the heart of the viral video. As they loaded the supplies into the patrol car, the homeless man turned to Sergeant Heller, his voice thick with emotion. "Why are you doing this for me? You don't even know me." Heller looked at him directly. "Because you needed help, and I could help. It's that simple. But you're a cop. Cops don't usually. Most of the time, police just tell me to move along or threaten to arrest me for loitering." "Well, I'm not most cops," Heller said. "And you're not just some homeless guy. You're a person, a human being who deserves dignity and kindness." They drove back to where Heller had first seen him. As the man gathered his new supplies, Heller said something that would resonate with millions of people who watched the video. "You were waiting for a blessing, right? Well, God bless you today. You just didn't know it was going to be me." The man broke down crying. He hugged Sergeant Heller, a full, genuine hug between two people who'd been strangers 20 minutes ago. "Thank you," the man whispered. "Thank you so much. You don't know what this means." "Stay warm tonight," Heller told him. "And if you need help getting into a shelter or finding resources, call the police department and ask for me, Sergeant Heller. I'll help you." "I will. Thank you, Sergeant. God bless you." Heller drove away, his body cam still recording. The last image on the footage is a homeless man standing on the roadside, holding his new sleeping bag and supplies, watching the patrol car disappear. Heller went back to his patrol duties, responded to calls, filled out paperwork. It was just another shift. He didn't think much about the interaction. It was just something he felt compelled to do. But that body cam footage would sit in the police department's servers for almost 2 months before anyone saw it. And when they did, everything would change. March 2024. The Gwinnett County Police Department conducts routine audits of Bodycam footage. It's standard procedure, randomly reviewing officers' recordings to ensure compliance with policy, professionalism, and proper conduct. An administrator, reviewing Sergeant Heller's footage from January, came across a video of him helping the homeless man. The administrator watched it once, then watched it again, then called over colleagues. "You need to see this." They watched Heller approach the man, offer to help, take him shopping, spend his own money, say, "God bless you today. You just didn't know it was going to be me. This is beautiful." One supervisor said, "This is exactly what community policing should look like. Can we release this to the public?" Another asked. They checked with Heller first. He was embarrassed. He hadn't done it for recognition. He just wanted to help. "I don't need any attention," Heller told them. "I was just doing what I felt was right." "But this is important," his supervisor explained. "People need to see this. They need to know that police officers care, that we're not just about enforcement, that we serve our community in ways that go beyond arrests." Heller reluctantly agreed. On March 9th, 2024, the Gwinnett County Police Department posted the body cam video to their social media with a simple caption. A recent body camera audit captured the interaction of Sergeant Todd Heller and a homeless man. Facing a dangerously cold night, Sergeant Heller used over $150 of his own money to purchase cold weather provisions for the man. Sergeant Heller is a great representative of a GCPD officer. Within 24 hours, the video had been viewed over 500,000 times. Within a week, over 5 million. The reaction would shock everyone, including Sergeant Heller. The video exploded across social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Everyone was sharing it. News outlets picked it up. Local news in Georgia ran the story. Then regional news. Then national news. Georgia officer spends $150 of own money to help homeless man. Viral body cam shows police compassion at its best. Cops' act of kindness restores faith in law enforcement. The comment sections fill with reactions. This is what police work should be. Helping people, not just arresting them. That line, "God bless you today, you just didn't know it was going to be me," made me cry. We need more officers like this. People who see the humanity in everyone. He spent his own money, not taxpayer money, his own paycheck. That's real compassion. The video resonated especially powerfully given the climate around policing in America. High-profile cases of police brutality and misconduct had damaged public trust. Many people viewed law enforcement with suspicion or hostility. But this video showed something different. A cop using his authority not to punish or control, but to help. A cop spending his own money to ensure someone didn't freeze to death. A cop treating a homeless man with dignity and respect. It was a narrative people desperately wanted to believe in, but not everyone praised Sergeant Heller. And the criticism he received would reveal uncomfortable truths about how society views both police and homelessness. While most responses to the video were positive, a vocal minority criticized Sergeant Heller's actions. The criticism came from multiple angles, each revealing different societal tensions. Some critics argued Heller was enabling homelessness. Giving him supplies just keeps him on the streets. He should have arrested him for loitering and forced him into the system where he'd get real help. Others questioned why this was news. A cop did one nice thing and everyone acts like he's a hero? This should be normal. The fact that we're surprised by basic human decency from police shows how low the bar is. Some suggested it was a publicity stunt. The police department only released this to improve their image. They're using one good deed to cover up systemic problems. A few even criticized a homeless man. He's probably going to sell that stuff for drug money. Homeless people can't be trusted. Sergeant Heller saw some of the criticism and responded in an interview with a local news station. "I didn't do this for recognition. I didn't do it to make the department look good. I saw someone who needed help on a freezing day, and I had the means to help them. That's it. As for whether it enables homelessness, that man wasn't choosing to be homeless. He'd fallen on hard times. And whether or not helping him addresses the systemic issues that cause homelessness, I can tell you this. He didn't freeze to death that night, and that matters. His supervisor, speaking on behalf of the department, addressed the publicity stunt accusations. We didn't stage this. We didn't even know about it until we found it during a routine audit. Sergeant Heller didn't report it, didn't brag about it, didn't ask for recognition. He just did it because it was the right thing to do. That's the kind of officer he is. But the real test of Heller's character would come when someone challenged him to prove his compassion wasn't a one-time thing. A week after the video went viral, a social media influencer in Georgia issued a public challenge to Sergeant Heller. If you really care about homeless people, prove it. I'm organizing a donation drive for the homeless in Gwinnett County. Show up. Help distribute supplies. Let's see if your compassion extends beyond one viral moment. It was meant as a gotcha, a way to expose Heller as someone who'd done one good deed for the cameras but didn't really care. Heller's response surprised everyone. He immediately agreed to participate. On March 16, 2024, Heller showed up off-duty in civilian clothes to help distribute supplies to homeless individuals in the area. He brought his own donations, more blankets, socks, hand warmers. He spent hours talking with homeless people, listening to their stories, offering resources and referrals. The social media influencer who challenged him ended up apologizing publicly. I was wrong about Sergeant Heller. I thought he'd done one nice thing for PR. But he showed up today, on his day off, with no cameras, no department officials, just him wanting to help. He spent hours talking with people, treating everyone with dignity. He's the real deal. But Heller's commitment went even deeper than one day of volunteering. What he did next would cement his reputation as an officer who truly served his community. Inspired by the viral video, dozens of people contacted the Gwinnett County Police Department asking how they could help homeless individuals in the area. They wanted to donate money, supplies, time. The department wasn't set up to handle charitable donations. They were law enforcement, not a social service agency. But the public demand was overwhelming. Sergeant Heller had an idea. Working with local churches and homeless services organizations, he helped establish the Waiting on a Blessing Fund, named after the sign the homeless man had held. The fund accepted donations and used them to provide emergency supplies to homeless individuals in Gwinnett County: blankets, sleeping bags, warm clothing, hygiene products. Police officers who encountered homeless people in need could refer them to the fund for assistance. Heller volunteered to help coordinate the program, working with social workers and nonprofit organizations to ensure donations reached people who needed them. Within 3 months, the fund had raised over $50,000. It helped hundreds of homeless individuals, providing not just supplies but also connections to shelters, job training programs, addiction treatment, and other resources. Local news covered the fund's success. The reporter asked Heller why he'd invested so much time and energy into this. "Because that encounter on January 17th changed me," Heller said. "I realize how many people are out there, suffering in silence, waiting for someone to care. I can't solve homelessness by myself, but I can make sure people don't freeze to death in the winter. I can make sure they feel seen and valued. That's something." But the most powerful moment came 5 months after the original video, when Sergeant Heller received an unexpected phone call. June 2024. Sergeant Heller was on patrol when he received a call from the police department's main desk. "Sergeant, there's someone here asking to speak with you specifically. He says you helped him back in January." Heller's mind raced. Could it be? "I'll be there in 10 minutes. When Heller arrived at the station, a man was waiting in the lobby. Clean clothes, haircut, shaved, healthy. It took Heller a moment to recognize him. It was the homeless man from January, but he looked completely different. "Sergeant Heller?" the man said, standing up. "Oh my God," Heller said, stunned. "Is that you?" They shook hands, then hugged. "I want to come thank you properly," the man said, "and tell you what happened after that day." They sat down and the man told his story. The sleeping bag and supplies Heller had bought him had kept him alive through the worst of winter. But more importantly, Heller's kindness had given him hope. The way Heller had treated him like a person, with dignity and respect, had reminded him that he was worth helping. "I'd given up," the man admitted. "I thought nobody cared. I thought I was invisible. But you saw me. You helped me. And that made me believe maybe I could get my life back." He'd gone to a shelter Heller had told him about. They'd helped him get into a job training program. He'd gotten his driver's license reinstated. He'd gotten a job at a warehouse. He'd saved money and got an apartment. "I've been off the streets for 3 months now," he said proudly. "I have a job, an apartment. I'm rebuilding my life. And it started because you stopped and helped me that day." Heller was speechless. But the man had one more surprise. The man pulled out his wallet and took out $150 in cash. He handed it to Sergeant Heller. "What's this?" Heller asked. "It's what you spent on me that day. I want to pay you back." Heller tried to refuse. No, that was a gift. You don't owe me anything." "I know I don't owe you, but I want to give it back so you can help someone else. Take this money and use it the same way you used it for me. Find someone who needs help and be their blessing." Heller's eyes filled with tears. He accepted the money. "I'll do exactly that," he promised. The man smiled. "Good, because what you did for me, it changed my whole life, and I want other people to have that same chance." They talked for another hour. The man shared his plans for the future. He wanted to go to community college, maybe become a social worker himself, help other people who were struggling the way he had. "You inspired me," he told Heller. "I want to be someone who helps people, just like you did." After the man left, Heller sat in his patrol car and cried. He'd thought that day in January was just a small act of kindness. He'd had no idea it would change someone's entire life trajectory. But that wasn't the end of the story, because the man's transformation would lead to something even more powerful. A documentary filmmaker in Georgia heard about the story and wanted to feature it in a project about police-community relations. She interviewed Sergeant Heller, the formerly homeless man, the administrators who found the Bodycam footage, and community members who donated to the Waiting on a Blessing Fund. The short documentary, titled The Blessing, premiered at a film festival in Atlanta in September 2024. It won the Audience Choice Award. The film showed the complete story: the original Bodycam footage, interviews with both men, the man's journey from homelessness to stability, the fund that had helped hundreds of others, and the ripple effect of one act of kindness. At the premiere, both Heller and the formerly homeless man spoke to the audience. The man, now living independently and working full-time, said, "I want people to understand that homeless people are not hopeless people. We're just people who hit hard times. And sometimes all it takes is one person believing in us, treating us with dignity, giving us a chance. Sergeant Heller gave me that chance, and now I'm giving it back by helping others." Heller said, "I'm not a hero. I just saw someone who needed help and decided to help them. I wish that didn't make me unusual. I wish every police officer, every person, looked at those who are struggling and asked themselves, what can I do? Even small acts of kindness can change lives. I know because I saw it happen." The documentary would go on to be screened at police academies across the country, teaching new officers about community policing and compassion. Police departments across Georgia and eventually across the country began using the Blessing documentary and the original Bodycam footage as training material. The footage became part of community policing curricula, showing officers that their job isn't just about enforcement. It's about serving and protecting in ways that go beyond arrests. Heller was invited to speak at police academies. He told cadets, "You're going to encounter people at their worst moments. People who are homeless, addicted, mentally ill, desperate. It's easy to see them as problems to be managed, but I'm asking you to see them as people who need help. You have power. You have resources. You have the ability to make someone's worst day a little better. Use that power wisely." The training emphasized several key points. Discretion matters. Officers have discretion in how they handle situations. Choosing compassion over punishment can have lasting positive effects. Small acts have big impacts. Buying someone a blanket doesn't solve systemic homelessness, but it can save a life and restore hope. Community trust. Acts of kindness build trust between police and communities. People who've been treated with dignity are more likely to cooperate with law enforcement. Officer well-being. Helping people feels good. Officers who focus on positive community interactions report higher job satisfaction and lower burnout. The Gwinnett County Police Department saw measurable results. Surveys showed increased public trust in the department. Officers reported feeling more connected to the community. Complaints against officers decreased. And across the country, other officers started sharing their own stories of helping people. Sergeant Heller had started a movement inspired by Heller's viral video. Police officers across America began sharing their own stories of helping community members. Social media filled with bodycam footage and stories of officers going above and beyond. An officer in Michigan who used his own money to buy a car seat for a mother who couldn't afford one. Officers in Texas who organized a birthday party for a child whose family couldn't afford one. A deputy in Florida who drove an elderly woman to the grocery store after finding her walking on a dangerous highway. Officers in California who pooled money to pay for a family's groceries when they saw them struggling. The hashtag serving with compassion trended on social media. News outlets ran features on police officers who restore our faith in law enforcement. Critics pointed out that these feel-good stories shouldn't distract from necessary conversations about police reform and accountability. They were right. Systemic problems required systemic solutions. But Heller argued both things could be true. We can acknowledge that policing has serious problems that need to be addressed and celebrate when officers do good things. These aren't contradictory. Reform and compassion can coexist. The movement also sparked conversations about how communities support those in need. Heller frequently pointed out, "I could help that man because I had the resources to do so. But not everyone does. We need better social services, more shelters, more job training programs. Police officers can't solve these problems alone. We need community solutions." 1 year after the original video, Sergeant Heller received recognition that would validate everything he'd done. January 2025, the anniversary of the original encounter, the Gwinnett County Police Department held a ceremony honoring Sergeant Todd Heller. He received the department's Community Service Award, the highest honor given officers for exceptional service to the community. The ceremony was attended by dozens of people whose lives had been touched by Heller's compassion, individuals who'd received help through the Waiting on a Blessing Fund, community members who donated, officers who'd been inspired by his example. And sitting in the front row was a man from the original video, wearing a suit, employed, housed, thriving. Chief J.D. McClure, in his remarks, said, "Sergeant Heller represents the best of what it means to be a police officer. He protects and serves not just by enforcing laws, but by caring for the people in our community. He saw someone in need and didn't look away. He didn't pass responsibility to someone else. He acted, and in doing so, he changed a life and inspired a movement." When Heller accepted the award, he was characteristically humble. "I don't deserve this. I just did what anyone should do when they see someone suffering. But if this award means anything, let it be a reminder to all of us, police officers and civilians alike, that we have the power to help each other. A blanket, a meal, a kind word. These things matter. They can save lives. They can restore hope. They can change everything." He looked at the formerly homeless man in the front row. "That day in January, I thought I was just helping someone get through a cold night. I had no idea it would lead to all of this, but I'm grateful it did, because it taught me that every person we encounter is waiting for a blessing, and sometimes we get to be the answer to their prayer. But the story doesn't end with an award. It ends with what happened next, proving that kindness creates ripples that never stop spreading. The formerly homeless man, his name is Michael Thompson, and he agreed to be identified publicly to help others, didn't just rebuild his own life. He became an advocate for homeless services in Georgia. Thompson started speaking at churches, community centers, and government meetings about his experience. He shared what it was like to be homeless and what kind of help actually makes a difference. "People think homeless people need tough love," Thompson told audiences. "They think we need to be forced into programs or arrested into compliance. But what I needed was someone to treat me like a human being, to give me hope, to show me I was worth helping. That's what Sergeant Heller did, and that's what changed my life. Thompson worked with local nonprofits to improve homeless services. He helped design a dignity-first approach that treated homeless individuals with respect while providing resources. He also started his own initiative. Once a month, Thompson and volunteers would go to the spot where Sergeant Heller had first found him. They'd bring blankets, food, and supplies to distribute to homeless individuals in the area. They called it Blessing Day. I stand in the same spot where I held that sign, Thompson explained, where I waited for a blessing. And now I get to be the blessing for other people. I get to pass on what was given to me. Sergeant Heller joined him every time his schedule allowed. Together, they helped dozens of people get off the streets, connect with services, and rebuild their lives. And the impact kept spreading, touching lives in ways neither man could have imagined. 2 years after the original video, Sergeant Heller received a letter. It was from a police officer in Oregon who'd seen the Bodycam footage during training. The letter read, "Dear Sergeant Heller, I'm writing to tell you how your video changed my life. I've been a police officer for 5 years. I was becoming burned out, cynical, jaded. I'd started seeing everyone as a potential problem rather than as people. I was considering quitting. Then we watched your Bodycam video in a training session. I saw how you treated that homeless man with dignity, respect, genuine care. I saw how your kindness changed his life, and it reminded me why I became a cop in the first place. Last week, I encountered a homeless woman on my beat. Normally, I would have just told her to move along, but I thought of your video. I thought, what would Sergeant Heller do? I bought her a meal, gave her information about shelters, treated her like she mattered, and you know what? It felt good. It felt like real police work. Like I was actually helping someone. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for reminding me what this job is supposed to be about. Thank you for showing me that compassion and law enforcement aren't incompatible. Thank you for saving my career by saving that man. Respectfully, Officer Sarah Martinez, Portland Police Department. Heller received dozens of letters like this from officers across the country, from civilians who've been inspired to help homeless people in their communities, from formerly homeless individuals who'd found hope after someone showed them kindness. One letter was from a woman in California. I saw your video and realized I've been walking past homeless people every day without seeing them as people. Last week, I bought blankets and distributed them downtown. 3 people cried when I gave them to them. I cried too. Thank you for opening my eyes. The video that started as one officer helping one person had created a wave of compassion that touched thousands of lives. January 17th, 2027, 3 years to the day after the original encounter. Sergeant Heller and Michael Thompson stood at the same highway off-ramp where it all began. They were there for the 3rd annual Blessing Day event, which had grown from a small monthly gathering to a major community effort. Hundreds of volunteers had shown up with supplies, resources, and most importantly, compassion. Local news covered the event. The reporter asked Heller, "Did you ever imagine that buying one man a sleeping bag would lead to all this?" Heller smiled. "No, I just saw someone who needed help. But I've learned that kindness is contagious. When people see compassion, they want to be part of it. They want to help too." Thompson added, "That's the real story here. Not just what Sergeant Heller did for me, but how it inspired thousands of people to look at homelessness differently. To see homeless people as human beings deserving of dignity and help. That's what changes communities." The statistics told the story. The Waiting on a Blessing Fund had raised over $500,000 in 3 years. 1,247 homeless individuals had received direct assistance through the fund. 312 people had transitioned from homelessness to stable housing. Dozens of police departments had adopted Compassion First, training based on Heller's example. Thousands of civilians had been inspired to volunteer or donate to homeless services. But beyond the numbers were the stories. Individual lives changed. People who'd been invisible suddenly seen. People who'd lost hope finding it again. People who'd felt worthless discovering they mattered. And it all started with one officer who saw a sign that said, "Waiting on a blessing," and decided to be the answer. 3 years after that freezing January day, Sergeant Todd Heller still patrols Gwinnett County. He's still the same officer he was before the viral video. Humble, dedicated, compassionate. The recognition didn't change him. It just revealed who he'd always been. Michael Thompson now works as a peer support specialist at a homeless services organization. He uses his lived experience to help others navigate the path from streets to stability. He's been housed for 3 years, employed for almost as long, reconnected with family, and living proof that people can rebuild their lives when given a chance. The Bodycam video that captured their encounter has been viewed over 50 million times across all platforms. It's been featured in documentaries, news segments, training materials, and countless social media shares. But the real legacy isn't the views or the viral fame. It's in the lives changed, the people helped, the compassion inspired. On the 3rd anniversary of their meeting, Heller and Thompson gave a joint interview. The reporter asked Thompson, "What would have happened if Sergeant Heller had driven past you that day?" Thompson was quiet for a moment. "I don't know if I'd be here. That night was supposed to get down to 16 degrees. I had nothing. No shelter, no warm clothes, no hope. I might have frozen to death. Or I might have given up in a different way. I was in a dark place. And now I have a life, a home, a job, a purpose. I get to help other people the way I was helped. I get to be someone's blessing. All because one police officer decided I was worth helping." Heller added, "But that's the thing. He was always worth helping. Every person is. My faith teaches me that every human being has value, that we're all made in God's image. When I saw Michael holding that sign, I didn't see a homeless guy or problem. I saw a child of God who needed help, and I had the means to help. It was that simple." Your video showed a lot of people that police officers can be compassionate. "We always have been," Heller said. "Most officers care deeply about their communities. We just don't always show it in ways that get captured on camera. But I hope this video reminds people that we're human too. We have compassion. We want to help. And when we're at our best, we serve in ways that go far beyond enforcement." As they finished the interview, a call came over Heller's radio. A welfare check needed at a nearby location. Heller looked at Thompson and smiled. "Duty calls. Go help someone," Thompson said. "Maybe you'll change another life today." "Maybe I will." Sergeant Todd Heller drove away. His Bodycam recording is always ready to respond to whatever the day brought, ready to protect, to serve, to help, because that's what he'd always done. That's what thousands of officers do every single day, in ways big and small, noticed and unnoticed. On January 17th, 2024, one of those moments was captured on camera. One act of kindness was documented and shared with millions, and it reminded the world of a simple truth. Sometimes all someone needs is to feel seen, to feel valued, to know that someone cares. A homeless man held a sign that said, "Waiting on a blessing." A police officer decided to be that blessing. And from that one moment, one encounter, one decision to help, ripples of compassion spread across the country, changing thousands of lives. That's the power of kindness. That's the impact of seeing people as people. That's what happens when we choose compassion over indifference. The Bodycam footage captured 20 minutes of interaction. But the story continues 3 years later and will continue for decades to come, in every life touched by that one act of kindness, in every person inspired to help someone else, in every moment someone decides to be the answer to another person's prayer. Sometimes routine calls aren't routine at all. Sometimes they're the beginning of something beautiful. And sometimes all it takes to change the world is $150, a trip to Walmart, and the simple decision to see someone who's waiting for a blessing, and to be that blessing for them.